Hi, this is Randy Ehrler with the Living Well Blueprint. I'm a personal trainer and health coach focused on longevity, not just about how we make our bodies last longer, but how we're going to live while living longer. In one of my previous videos, I spoke about the fact that many of us will live longer than we think. And I want to dig into that a little bit deeper today. If you missed that video, essentially the World Health Organization is estimating that 50% of us could live well into our 90s. And this isn't the vision of aging you may hold now, wherein you spend 15, 20, 30 years in a state of illness or chronic breakdown. We're talking about health and vitality and physical capacity well into those later years, living long, dying short. But I want to back up a little bit because we get a little bit of mixed information. So yes, many of us are going to live longer than we previously thought, but we need to talk about life expectancy, what that really means, and what goes into our longer lives. So first of all, think about life capacity or estimated lifespan. So we say, men average a certain lifespan, 72, 69, whatever that may be given the country, and women have their own that's usually a few years longer. Well, that is an average. So that's averaging all deaths across the board. So one of the things that's changed over the last many decades is infant mortality is considerably reduced. So people were already beginning to live longer. But there's several other factors that contribute to our longer lives. And this isn't a billionaire Silicon Valley biohack where you're going to do red light therapy and cryogenics and you're going to extend your life. What we're talking about is just simple changes within our society that has helped us support life longer. So one of the most important ones is medical intervention. We have the ability now for early detection, managing health, particularly with chronic conditions, things that perhaps 2 to 3 decades ago would have been a shortening of your life. Now we can manage those things. So medical intervention, increased medical care, preventive medicine, all influence lifespan. In my memory, in my lifetime, I can remember I was 21 years old, 1990, in DeKalb, Illinois, 911 was introduced. So if you think about how we depend on 911, right? You have an incident in your yard, somebody's bleeding, somebody collapsed, somebody falls. What's your first instinct? 911. Within minutes, you have help at your house. Medics are doing triage. They're getting you off to the hospital within minutes oftentimes, right? That is a life-saving mechanism that didn't exist in my lifetime. So as a child, if we fell, we got in our dad's car, our mom's car, and they drove us to the hospital. All right, so you think about the number of instances. Think about people you know in your life who have chronic illnesses, who have had major events that were taken to the hospital. It wasn't that long ago, those were life-ending. Now those people are being saved, and then with medical interventions, pharmacology, and increased care, they are kept alive. I have a member of my family that's 70 that suffers from chronic COPD, congestive heart failure, on oxygen, and has been that way for almost 20 years. Mental capacity is there, so it's likely she'll go on for another decade or more. So the number increases despite what's happening. I know that's not the image you want, that's not how you want to live longer, but the likelihood is you will, but not with those issues, depending on how you care for yourself. So medical intervention, medical care, preventive care, all contribute to longer lives. Another component is just the cessation of smoking. If you're over 40, you can remember a day when everybody smoked. And it was common as anything else that we do. And now it's virtually been eliminated within our culture. That has had a huge effect on overall health and well-being. Okay? A last aspect that sometimes we don't think about is safety. So if you're familiar at all with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, when you're down at the bottom, it's survival. I need to feed myself today. I need to stay safe today. I need to get through this day. And many of us have sort of stabilized on that level, and we've climbed up that hierarchy of needs. So we have the comfort and the safety, the security to think about macros all day and plan our exercise routines. Okay? So for a lot of us, we're in a position where we're going to live longer. But I want to go back to that statistic from the World Health Organization. 50% of us. So 50% will not experience this. And you'll see reports in the last few years coming forward that in the United States, life expectancy for men is actually decreasing. So that's a little bit conflicting with what I just talked about. But what we need to do is take those very same things that I mentioned are contributing to the increase in life expectancy and flip it. A lot of people don't have access to any of those things. They don't have the resources. They perhaps don't have health insurance. They don't have access to regular medical care, preventive care. They may use the emergency room as their doctor, which means not until things are acute do they actually seek care. They don't have the resources to enter into a treatment plan that helps maintain their chronic conditions. A lot of obstacles there. So you also have rural areas and urban areas that don't have access to healthy or quality medical systems at all. Or they don't have access to the emergency systems that we talked about earlier, in which they have a medical need, they call 911, and they're not getting the response time needed to intervene and save their lives. So there's a lot of people who don't have the very things that are contributing to the longer life. And in my opinion, as we live longer and as we experience the benefit of these increased decades, that's something we need to consider and reflect upon, and how we can influence that number and make sure that 100% of people have access to these benefits. So you're going to live longer than you think, and that's why. The second component of that is ageism. So you may think, I'm going to live longer, I'm not really interested in living longer. A lot of people have this feeling like life's a grind. I'm kind of not interested in more of this. And a lot of those ideas come from ageist ideas. Now, there's two components to ageism. The first is external ageism. It's how people treat you. Now, this is a real thing. People over 50 apply for jobs and they're sort of politely dismissed from that process. Maybe they don't even get an interview. Maybe they're just sort of treated in a way that they can read as discriminatory in an interview process. People have assumptions about age and they react to that. So I don't know that we can really affect external ageism. People think what they think. And really, I think that that's going to take care of itself. Demographically, we're a graying society, right? 11 states in 2024 had more people over 65 than under 18. The trend is going older. So to some degree, they're just going to need us. We're going to have to reframe how we think about aging. The real challenge, I think, is internal ageism. How do you feel about aging? How are you thinking as you get older? Are you scratching and clawing, trying to hold on to your youth? Are you a member of the anti-aging contingent, which is ridiculous, no matter what you're aging? But that stems from this idea of a resistance to aging and ultimately a resistance to death, both realities for us. So think about how you respond to your own changes. Do you attribute changes in your body to aging, and then are you lamenting that? Are you upset by that? Are you hostile about that? First of all, the changes in your body aren't simply due to aging. A lot of that is wear and tear we've created. A lot of those things can be mitigated, and you can go back to medical intervention. A lot of things can be managed, all right, regarding aging. But think about your mindset. Do you believe that because you haven't done something by a certain date or time in your life that you've already missed the window, that it's over? Okay? Do you attribute senior moments, things you slip and forget? Do you sort of have this internal idea that you are on the back side of it, that you're on a downhill slide? See, that's ageist. There's a wonderful book by Simon Sinek called The Infinite Game that sort of flipped how I thought about life. So many of us operate under that 3-stage concept where we get an education, we have our career, we retire. And part of that retirement idea is that we're done. We don't want to play the game anymore. Our hope is we can withdraw from everything. We don't have to worry about what anybody else thinks. We don't have to get up anymore. We don't have to follow anybody else's rules. And that's certainly something you can aspire to, but the reality is, especially if you're going to go on for another 3 decades, is that the game continues. And the infinite game means you're always playing the game. So In an anti-ageist mindset, you accept, I can still participate in the game. I am not over the hill. I am not done. I have new things to learn. I have new opportunities to pursue. So these are key things to think about. Accept that you're going to live longer and start changing how you perceive aging itself. I'm Randy Ehrler. This is the Living Well Blueprint. If you liked the video, please subscribe, share it with a friend. I'll see you next time.